Hi, my name is Jeff, and welcome back to my workshop. We're continuing work on a copper range gondola, two-bay hopper rather, and we're going to be making a coal load. So I cut a blank from and pieced it together with pieces of foam. I glued it together with tacky glue, Eileen's tacky glue, and made sure it fit properly. Now we're just going to carve this down to resemble the shape of a coal load. So it's kind of mounted in the center and angles down. I'm using a hobby knife, and you can see it's kind of tearing a little bit. And that's because it's a dull blade, and that should have been assigned to me that I missed, that I needed to change the blade. So make sure when you're working with, especially cutting foam, use a sharp blade. Also, when it gives like that, that's a good chance for you to cut yourself, so be very careful. I was lucky, no injuries, but it could have very easily happened. So make sure your blade is sharp and that you're careful and you keep your fingers out of the way. So we're going to work down the side, and we just want to kind of create a sloping angle on here with it ending in a mound at the top. And we're going to continue this on this side, and once we've got this side done, we'll do the other four. And as you can see here, we're just finishing up. We've got a rough shape. Now we're going to smooth. The next step is going to be to smooth it out, and for that I'm going to use some 80 grit sandpaper. You can see that knife is still tearing the foam because I still hadn't realized I needed to change my blade. So I hope you all learned from my mistakes. So with it in a rough shape, I'm going to get some 80 grit sandpaper out and just kind of rub it against that at an angle to kind of smooth out the sides and the mound at the top. So again, we're going to do all four edges. And then once we're satisfied with it, we're going to test fit it again to make sure it fits properly. It does. And now it's ready to go to the paint shop and get a coat of black paint. I'm just going to use a very dark gray that I have. And as you can see, I used a spray paint and it attacked the foam. So it's hard to tell here, but it ate away a good chunk of that foam. So this is headed to the garbage can, and we will start with another block of foam, which I have carved ready. This time I'm going to use acrylic paint. In this case, I think it was a Vallejo paint that I used, but any black acrylic will work. This just happens to be what I hand. I tipped my brush into some water before I picked up the paint. That way it thinned it a little bit and helps it smooth into the cracks and crevices of the foam. We're really just painting this black so that it hides, so we don't see any white if some of the coal that we're going to use comes loose, because we'll top this in our next step with some Woodland Scenics coal. So once we get this painted, we'll let that dry before we start gluing on the foam. Gluing the coal to the foam. And while that dries, we can clean out our brush. And then I'll be back once this dries to start applying glue and the coal to it. So I'm using the kit's top as a base so that I don't get coal everywhere. And I've just got Eileen's tacky glue, and I'm just gluing that on, painting that onto the foam core that we built for the load. We want to make sure we get it on all areas, and we want to work fairly quickly so that the glue doesn't dry up on us. Now the glue starts out white, and by the way, I'm using a tacky glue, but you could use any white glue. Elmer's school glue or Elmer's white glue work just fine for this. You just want something that's going to dry clear and is easy to work with. So once I have this covered in glue, I'm taking some of the foam and just sprinkling it out over it, giving it a pretty generous coating because I want it to get in there over the whole thing. And then I'm just going to use my finger and tack it in, get it over the whole thing, and then just kind of push it down, make sure it's seated into the glue well. And then we can brush off any excess and reapply if needed. But I don't want too much on the sides because it would interfere with it fitting in the car. Then once that's done, we can just reclaim that coal from the box, put it back in our bag for the next time, and test fit the load. It fits in here pretty good, but it's a little bit tight and it's sitting a little bit high, so there may be some coal interfering with it. So we're just going to take this out real quick and just kind of use my finger. I'll use my finger to just brush some coal off the sides of it where it's sticking and hanging up. Just kind of rub it off. And then when we put this back in the car, that looks much better. Thank you for joining this video. If you've enjoyed seeing this, if you've learned something, please make sure you subscribe and give the video a big thumbs up. I do appreciate it, and I will see you on my next video. Thank you and have a great day.